Hi everyone, it's Sandy and today I will be talking about all the books that I read in the month of June. I managed to read 7 books and the first 2 books that I read are part of a duology, and that is The Fixer and The Long Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book does remind me of Scandal in a way, and it follows our main character Tess Kendrick, who moves to Washington DC to live with her older sister Ivy. Ivy is known as the Capitol's #1 fixer, which means that she covers up scandals and makes them disappear. And throughout this book, Tess begins to get involved into Ivy's work, which becomes very dangerous for her. I really enjoyed both books. I thought that they were very plot driven and they kept me engaged the entire time. I did enjoy the second book a little bit more than the first book. Both books were just so good and so suspenseful. The author continues to amaze me with each of her books regarding the twists and turns. I did really like reading from the main character's point of view. Tess is very headstrong and she does do things that she's not supposed to, which can make it irritating, but she does further the plot and it does make things really interesting. I also really like the side characters, but I wish we got more of them. After finishing The Long Game, which is the second book, I immediately looked up to see when the third book is coming out, and I found out that there is no third book because the author was just contracted for 2 books and the sales of the second book didn't do too well, so there most likely will not be a third book, which is very upsetting. The second book did end in sort of a cliffhanger, so I do really want more in the series, and it makes me sad that there is no third book. So I want to recommend this series to you guys. The more people that read it, the more people that leave reviews, it increases the chance of the possibility of a third book being published. But at the same time, if you guys do read it and there is no third book, then you're just left on a cliffhanger, so I don't know, but definitely check the series out. It's really great, and I also recommend the Natural series, which is written by the same author. There are 4 books in that series and it is completed, and if you're a fan of Criminal Minds, I think you would really enjoy the Naturals. So I gave The Fixer 4 out of 5 stars and I gave The Long Game 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is Whisper by Chrissy Kikuri. This book follows Demi, who was 14 years old when she got meningitis, which caused her to lose her hearing. And this story starts 2 years later as Demi is transferring to a deaf school. I really love reading from Demi's point of view since I haven't read a book with a character who's deaf before, and she definitely provided an insight of the realities of being deaf. This book does include topics regarding prejudice and discrimination that deaf people face. It was just really interesting to read about Demi's experience with being deaf and how she felt in certain situations throughout the book. This is a book that does deal with friendships, family, and personal growth, and I definitely enjoyed reading about all those aspects as well. While I did enjoy reading from Demi's point of view, I felt like the side characters weren't fleshed out as much as I wanted them to be. There were definitely a couple characters that had layers to them, which I really enjoyed. I did like the romance, but the love interest was just an okay character to me. He wasn't as fleshed out as I wanted him to be. I do want to mention that this book does use the R word quite a lot throughout the entire book. It's used by the main character and some of the side characters as well, and the use of that word was never really challenged, and that doesn't really sit well with me, but overall I give this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Always and Forever, Lara Jean by Jenny Han. This is the 3rd and final book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. I actually really enjoyed reading this book more than I expected to. I did like the first book, but I thought the second book was okay. I gave that book like a 3 stars, so I didn't really have super high expectations going into this book, but I ended up being pleasantly surprised, which is really nice. This entire book gave me feelings of nostalgia. Lara Jean is now a senior in high school and she is waiting for acceptance letters for college and trying to decide where she wants to go. Reading this book, I couldn't help but reminisce on my own senior year. Senior year was actually my favorite year in high school, so I really enjoyed reading this book because it just reminded me of my senior year. I really enjoyed Lara Jean's character development throughout the 3 books. I think she has definitely matured, and I also really enjoyed seeing Kitty's character development. One of my favorite things about this entire trilogy is the family and sister aspect. I really love reading about the sisters and seeing them interact with one another, and also it was really nice to read a book where the main character is already in a relationship. I thought the relationship was really cute. I'm really happy about it. Also, I really appreciated all the Hamilton references in this book. Overall, I think this was a really great conclusion. I do wish there was a little bit more at the end, but overall I would give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This book follows Molly, who has had 26 crushes but has never been in a relationship. One day Molly meets this girl named Mina and she introduces Mina to her twin sister Cassie. Mina and Cassie basically hit it off and they become girlfriends, and now that Cassie is in a relationship, Molly feels that her relationship with Cassie is becoming very distant. I thought that this was a really cute and fun read. I love that there are so many diverse characters in this book. Molly and Cassie are sperm donor babies to 2 moms. Cassie likes girls and she's in a relationship with a Korean American pansexual girl. Molly is also Jewish. She has anxiety, which she is on medication for, and she has an underrepresented body type. Throughout the entire book, Molly describes herself as being fat. One of my favorite parts in this book is that when a guy tells Molly that she's gorgeous for a big girl, she immediately replies, fuck you, and I love her for that. I think I enjoyed this book a bit more than Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda because I connected to Molly's character more. Although I don't have as many crushes as Molly, I definitely related to her when it comes to how she felt in certain situations, the way she thinks, and with boys and relationships. I also really enjoyed the portrayal of the sibling relationship between Molly and Cassie. There were definitely ups and downs in their relationship, but ultimately they love each other and are very supportive of one another. I thought this book was a really great read that I flew through, and I highly recommend it. I ended up rating this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is actually a reread that I listened to on audiobook, and that is City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I've been saying for years that I want to reread the Mortal Instruments series, so I'm slowly making my way through it, and I think I'm just going to audiobook the whole thing because I'm more motivated to listen to the audiobook rather than reading the physical book. I don't really have much to say for this book. My original thoughts haven't really changed. I still enjoyed this book and I really love the characters. It's just so interesting to reread this entire series, knowing how they end up and where they are in life. And the last book that I finished in June is When Diplomat Rishi by Sandhya Menon. This book follows two Indian American teens whose parents have proposed an arranged marriage between them. Dimple is unaware of this arranged marriage, but Rishi is totally on board. They end up attending the same summer program together for aspiring web developers. At this program, Rishi is planning on getting to know Dimple more and trying to win her heart. This is an Own Voices book, and I thought it was a really cute read. I love the inclusion of Indian culture, which is very present throughout the entire book. I especially love that we got to see such a variety of Indian culture, from the characters speaking Hindi to the clothing, different types of food, and so much more. I thought both characters were really great. It was really interesting to read from both of their perspectives because they do have different views on things. I want to take a moment to appreciate Rishi because he is so precious, sweet, caring, and kind. Rishi is such a great guy, and Dimple is really fierce, intelligent, and independent. This book is told in dual point of views, and I really loved it when a particular scene would switch point of views back and forth multiple times. So there would be one scene told in both characters' point of view, which creates this beautiful way of storytelling because these point of views would flow with one another, and it made me feel like I was watching a movie play out. I also do like the humor in this book. I still laugh every time I think about the scene of Dimple and Rishi first meeting. It's definitely one of the funniest scenes in this book, but I really wanted more humor in this book. This book definitely had its funny moments, but I just wanted more. The summer program that Dimple and Rishi are attending has to do with them participating in a contest by creating an app, and I really wanted to see more of the coding process when it comes to the app that they are both creating, and more about the summer program in general. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it and I thought it was really cute. So those are all the books that I read in the month of June. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!